Chapter 17. Cara. Cara looked up as Cole strode her direction. A fierce intensity rolled off him like an invisible wave, and the hair on the back of her neck stood up. Something was wrong. "What's happened?" she asked when he was within earshot. "Little Robbie was just admitted." Cara's brow furrowed. "So soon? That makes no sense. The incubation time is usually at least 2 days," he finished for her, "which means he must have gotten it earlier this week." Cara felt her stomach drop. If she had been standing, her knees would have given out beneath her. "So David managed to disperse it somewhere else, but we have no idea where? We have to alert the media." Cole held up a hand. "Slow down. We may not know where yet, but his mother was able to give me the name of his best friend. Evidently, they do nearly everything together. If he's not sick yet, maybe we can figure out where Robbie was exposed." Cara tilted back the last of her coffee and pushed her chair back. "What are we waiting for then? What's his friend's name?" "Cecil Jacobs." Cara was unfamiliar with the name, but she knew exactly how to find his address. After tossing her cup in the trash, she pulled out her cell phone, finger-punching Jordan's speed dial number. "Jordan, it's Cara. I need an address." 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a small rambler that appeared in dire need of some TLC. The paint peeled in large curls from the siding, and there was an obvious sag in the porch. As they opened their doors, Jordan pulled up behind them. "You two will let me ask the questions, understand?" Cara nodded. Though she hadn't expected Jordan to show up just to ask a kid a few questions, she did feel better having him there. She and Cole fell into step behind Jordan and waited as he knocked on the door. A boy who looked to be about 10, with sandy blonde hair, opened the door slightly and stared out at them. "Hello, my name is Detective Graves. Are you Cecil Jacobs?" Cara recognized Jordan's soothing voice, the one he always used when talking to kids or stressed-out people. He had an imposing demeanor most of the time, but he could soften it and come across like a teddy bear when he wanted. The boy's eyes narrowed as he took in Jordan's normal clothes instead of a uniform, as well as Cara and Cole behind him. "Are you a real cop? Do you have a badge? And who are they?" Cara pressed her lips together to keep from smiling. The kid was smart. She wasn't sure if he was home alone or not, though she guessed he was, but his parents had obviously taught him well. "I am a real cop. In fact, I'm going to reach in my pocket and pull out my badge." This was another thing Jordan always did that Cara didn't hear many others do. He always explained what he was about to do, so as not to take anyone by surprise. She'd seen many times in the military where surprised people acted instinctually and often got themselves or others hurt. She would bet he had seen his fair share as well. After seeing his badge, the kid nodded his head slightly. "Okay, you're real, but who are they?" "These are my friends. Cara here owns a bed and breakfast in town, and Cole is a criminal investigator here on a case." Jordan obviously thought honesty was the best policy here, though Cara wasn't so sure how much the boy would understand. Evidently, whether he grasped it all or not, the explanation appeared to placate him. The door opened a little wider. "I'm Cecil Jacobs. Did I do something wrong?" Jordan shook his head. "Not at all. We're actually here because your friend Robbie is sick. We think he was exposed to a virus that's making him ill, and we're hoping you can tell us where you two have been the last few days." Cecil's eyes widened. "Robbie is sick? Am I going to get sick too?" This time, Jordan turned to Cara. She took a small step forward, but stayed behind Jordan. "We sure hope not, but it would be really helpful if you could tell us where you guys went this week." The boy didn't seem entirely convinced, and he dodged her question with one of his own. "How would I know if I was sick?" "It can be different for everyone. but the main symptoms would be a fever, cough, aches. It might feel like the flu. Have you had any of those symptoms?" He shook his head. "Does that mean I'm okay?" "It's very likely, though I would love to get you tested just in case. Now, can you tell us where you went?" The boy chewed on his bottom lip. "Well, yesterday we went to the school and played around on the playground for most of the day. But the day before, we snuck into the community pool. It was really hot, and we just wanted to cool off." The pool. Cara closed her eyes and tried not to show emotion. Why had she not thought of the pool? Though few people would drink the water, it would get in their system through their nose, ears, or any cuts. "Did you go in the water?" "Robbie did. I can't swim, so I just stayed near the sprinkler lines." His eyes widened. "Do you think that's how he got sick?" "It's very possible. Were there other people in the pool?" Cecil nodded slowly. "Yeah, the place was packed." Cara felt her heart drop. There was no telling when David had poisoned the water. How many people had been exposed? "I'll call and get the pool shut down. Maybe they have a way to track who's been there." Jordan was already pulling out his cell phone and walking away as he tossed the words at her. Cara nodded and kept her eyes on Cecil, who looked as if the gravity of the situation had finally hit him. "Cecil, are your parents here?" He pursed his lips and shook his head. "They're both at work. Would you be okay if I call them and see if we can take you to the hospital for testing?" He nodded, and when she held out her phone, he tapped the number in before handing it back to her. "That's my mom's number. Dad will never answer." She wondered briefly what his father did, that he couldn't answer a call from his kid who was home alone. But then her heart ached for parents who needed to both work and leave their young son home alone. She would have to ponder ways to help out families like his in the future. After punching the call button, she held the phone to her ear and listened. There was only one ring before a woman in a hushed voice answered. "Hello?" "Hello, is this Mrs. Jacobs?" She looked at Cecil with raised eyebrows, hoping to confirm that was in fact his mother's last name. She should have asked that first. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Cara Hunter. You don't know me, but I'm here with Cecil. Is he okay?" The woman's volume rose just a bit as fear flooded her voice. "Has he done something wrong?" "No, he's done nothing wrong, and he's fine, but he may have been exposed to a virus. I'm calling to see if Detective Jordan Graves and I can take him to the hospital, or if you can come home and take him in yourself." Cara didn't want to overstep. She didn't have kids, but she imagined she wouldn't be comfortable with some stranger claiming to take her son or daughter to a hospital. It is important that he get tested. As the silence dragged on, Cara knew the woman on the other end was weighing her options. "I'll see if I can take an extended break and bring him in." It wasn't what Cara had hoped to hear, but she could understand the woman's hesitation. At least now that she knew where he lived, she could check on him or send someone from the hospital to do it if he didn't make it in. "That sounds like a plan. Thank you." Cara ended the call and looked back at Cecil. "Your mom is going to try and come home to take you in to get tested. Please let her know it's important, okay?" Cecil nodded. "And no more sneaking into the pool, especially not until we know it's safe." He nodded again, a look of chagrin on his face. "What now?" Cole asked, after Cecil had gone back in the house and closed the door. Cara sighed. She didn't know what the next step was. Holding a press conference? Getting the word to the media outlets? Checking on Robbie and the women? Continuing to work on the vaccine? "I'm not even sure,"